Welcome along. Every single week, I speak to plant-based women who are doing everything right, or at least trying, right? Some of them are eating clean, cutting calories, trying their hardest, and sometimes they're just stuck. They're maybe still bloated, inflamed, still battling cravings that they can't explain. And more of them are asking me the same question, what should I do? Should I turn to weight loss drugs like Ozempic or Mounjaro? My friends are on Mounjaro. Hey, one of my friends a couple of my friends have been on Mounjaro and some other similar injections, weight loss injections, right? So today I really wanted to answer that question properly for you. And I'm going to tell you exactly what GLP-1 drugs do inside your body. Look, I'm not a doctor, but I am a weight loss coach. Okay, so I can only tell you from what the research that I've done, it actually does. And then I'm going to show you how to create those same effects naturally. And that's through food, through structure, without the side effects, without the additional nasty costs, and without outsourcing your results to having to inject yourself. So I cannot wait to hopefully change what you think about hunger. And by the way, in case you don't know, I have caught a cold and flu from being on a cruise. So I've actually just spent the last week sailing around the Caribbean with leading experts in plant-based nutrition, in behavioral science, personal trainers and chefs. And I got sick from this, which is ironic because it was a wellness conference on a cruise. But nevertheless, I am here to share with you as much wisdom as I possibly can. And if you are new here, I'm a plant-based weight loss and health coach, and I've helped hundreds of women ditch the toxic dieting cycles, build real health with plant-based nutrition, and also reach a place where weight loss becomes a natural side effect of just feeling incredible and good in your body again. So before we get into it, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit subscribe and just tap the little bell so that you never miss any video. And if you're watching this on live on Facebook, drop me a hello in the comments and tell me where you're joining from. So I'd love to know who's in the room. Let's get into it. So I want to start by asking you something. Have you ever had a day where you ate what felt like enough food, but then 2 hours later you are absolutely ravenous? Or maybe you got to 9 p.m. and felt completely out of control around food, like almost like a switch had been flipped because you'd done so well, right? You'd stuck to the plan and you were doing healthy most of the day. But then in the evening, oh, boom, something changes. So most women I speak to think that this is essentially a lack of willpower. And I'm going to tell you right now that it is not a lack of willpower. Quite often, it is not a lack of willpower because you have demonstrated willpower throughout the day. You've not punched your boss, you've not slapped your child, maybe you have, you've not dumped the husband, right? You use a lot of willpower throughout the day to get through shit, to get through the boring stuff, and to get through life. So it's not a lack of willpower. It's probably something to do with your diet, and I want to show you exactly why. So I want to introduce a client of mine. She came to me after 22 years of dieting. 22 years, right? That's a long time. She tried Slimming World, Weight Watchers. She tried the Daily Dozen. She had done everything the diet industry had told her to do. And every single time, the same thing happened. She would lose some weight, hit a plateau, feel completely frustrated that she's there, and so she quit. So when she came to me, she was pre-diabetic, asthmatic, dealing with joint pains, binge eating every single evening, not because she lacked willpower, not because she was weak, not because she lacked discipline, but because the systems that she had been given were not working with the way that her body was trying to work, right? And she is not the exception. She is every woman that I speak to. And what she needed was not more restriction, but she needed to understand why her hunger cues had completely stopped working for her. And that starts with understanding what is actually happening inside your body when cravings take over. Excuse me. So, the diet industry won't tell you that when you restrict your food, your body sees that as a threat, right? You're undernourishing yourself. So it does not know that you're trying to lose weight. It does not understand that you have a goal to hit. All it knows is it is being underfueled. Fuel is being withheld. So it just does what any intelligent survival system and mechanism work does, is it recalibrates itself, it fights back. And what happens is it will slow your metabolism. If your input is really low, it is going to slow down your output so it matches that, right? So we're not dying. So that is also going to rev up your hunger hormones. It's going to crank up your cravings. It's going to make you feel, it's going to make food feel urgent and important and all-consuming. And so then we eat. But when we eat, we feel guilty. And then when we feel guilty, we restrict again. And this cycle will continue going round and round like a loop. So, excuse me, a lot of people will think that that is because they're broken, because they can't follow a diet, they can't lose weight. That is literally how you are wired, right? I want you to get this into your mind. Feeling hunger and the bout of restriction is not how you lose weight. That's how you stay in a plateau or continue to gain weight. So you need to start unlearning what you've learned before in terms of eat less, lose weight, because that's not necessarily the right thing to do. So let's talk about GLP-1 medications because I want to give you some real answers and not just like some scare stories. So GLP-1 stands for glucagon-like peptide 1, and it is actually, it's just a hormone that your body produces naturally in the gut after you eat. So when GLP-1 is released, several things happen. So your pancreas gets a signal to release insulin, which brings your blood sugar down after a meal. Your stomach slows down how quickly it empties food, so you feel fuller for longer. Your brain receives a signal that says it's had enough. So essentially, your appetite is just suppressed. And your cravings will reduce significantly because you don't have an appetite, right? Because your blood sugar is stable and your body does not feel like it's an emergency anymore. Well, what we're doing is we're just silencing that emergency. It's still an emergency. Your body needs that fuel, but we're silencing it. It's like when the fire alarm goes off, turning the alarm off and not trying to address the fire, right? This is why GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro, they work for weight loss because they essentially just amplify what your body does when it's full. That's it. They're not magic. They're not these magical cures. They just help you to feel full. That's all they do, is they change your neurology to make you think that you've had enough food. That's why people will lose weight because they don't continue eating, right? But there's a lot of problems with that. People don't eat at all. People don't eat enough. People aren't getting the nourishment that they need because people are severely under eating in their calories. They are under eating in their micro and macronutrients. So what happens when you starve your body of micro and macronutrients is you start going into deficiencies, which is going to cause a lot of physical, cognitive impairments. It's going to wreak havoc on your hormones, on your mood, your energy, and so on and so forth. So, this isn't a real life solution it's not a long-term solution, right? And we already know statistically that most people that go on GLP-1s regain it and more within even just a few months. That's because we haven't changed our habits. We haven't changed the nutrition and we haven't changed the way that we approach weight loss. We have just come in and slapped a drug on it. Now, quite frankly, in my personal opinion, there's not really much else difference between a GLP-1 and any other drug, recreational or not, that you have used that suppresses your appetite, right? It all just does the same. So the reduction in obsessive food thoughts that some women experience on these medications is huge, right? It's real because for many of them, it's the first time that their body has just not been overfed with these foods that are inflammatory and just excessive in calories, right? But your body already knows how to release GLP-1s, right? We have hormones called leptin, which gets released when your stretch receptors have been reached. Therefore, it tells you that you've had enough food. So it's not about necessarily triggering these. It's not necessarily about trying to mimic this. It's about actually triggering those natural hormones anyway. Okay. So this is why plant-based diet and approach works, because when you have a whole food plant-based approach, you can have a lot of low calorie density foods. So what I mean by that is a low calorie density food is a food that takes up a lot of space for very few calories. So I want you to think of, for example, a broccoli. An entire head of broccoli could cost you, let's say, it could cost you 140 calories, right? But 1 tablespoon of olive oil can cost you 170 calories. So when you look at the difference, a whole head of broccoli is going to take up far more space in your stomach, which means that those stretch receptors are going to be stretched for fewer calories, right? Are you with me? Because you're not going to want to consume 100 tablespoons of that to make up for the same size, same space as a floret of broccoli. So first and foremost is the GLP-1 is going to tell you that you've had enough food. So the first way that we are going to mimic a GLP-1 is by having low calorie density, high volume food so that we can actually stretch the stretch receptors that were naturally in your stomach to begin with, right? Because as soon as they are stretched, as soon as your stomach is stretched enough, your body goes, okay, cool, we've had enough food. Let's just tell our brain that we've had enough food, right? So that's going to naturally regulate your appetite. Now, if you're having low calorie density food, there's a whole heap of extra bonuses that come with that. So there's a lot of fiber, a lot of water, a lot of micro and macronutrients, right? There is a whole host of benefits to having whole food plant-based diet. And one of those ones is to make sure that you have enough food to stretch those stretch receptors. So that's one of the things that it's doing. Now, another one of those things that the GLP-1 is doing is minimizing the what they call food noise. So when we have a diet high in processed foods, they are addictive. So they are high in salt, sugar, and fat, and they are like hitting all the pleasure centers in the brain, right? That is like as soon as you put something in your mouth that's high in salt, high in sugar, high in fat, your brain lights up like a firework display. It goes, oh, ding, 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 I want some of that, I want some of that, I want some of that. So the more you have that, it's kind of like a drug, right? The more you have that, the more you want. Now the problem is these are calorie dense foods. So these foods are highly processed, calorie dense foods. So they're going to be things like bread, cakes, cookies, even like meat, cheese, dairy, right? Sweets, or what do you guys call it? Lollies. That's Australian. I can't think of sweets in the US, right? We are looking at calorie dense foods. Now, we have that desire to have more when the pleasure centers are struck in the brain. So when you have a cake, for example, now remember a cake is going to be not as calorie, it's going to be calorie dense, but not volume dense. So when you think about the plant-based foods, it's going to take up less space, but it's also triggering the brain to have more. This is why if you have a croissant for breakfast, you're probably hungry by about 10 a.m. because it hasn't taken up much food, much space. And you are now already on that the train for enjoying pleasurable foods. So if you think of, and the way that I like to look at this is the way that people use drugs, right? As soon as they use it once, they want to go back. That is the same for foods. I don't know about you, but it absolutely is the case for me personally. If I have something sugary, I want something sugary for the rest of the day. Whereas if I don't have something sugary, it's far easier for me to say, no, I don't need that or don't want that because my cravings aren't high. Now, another reason why that happens is because of our blood sugar levels. So let's say you have that croissant for breakfast, your blood sugar levels are going to go up. Now, what goes up must come down. So blood sugar is another reason, another way, managing our blood sugar is another way that we can replicate the effects of GLP-1s. So for a typical, let's just take a typical day for the women that I speak to, right? They might skip breakfast or they might have a smoothie, which is loaded with loads of some fruit, maybe some peanut butter and some oats and just typically like when people have smoothies, they actually just go crazy. There's like syrup in there and it's sugar loaded. It's sugar loaded. Mid-morning, they might start to have a snack, maybe a handful of nuts or some crackers, maybe a piece of fruit. Lunch is typically like a big carb-heavy meal like pasta or rice or bread, like a sandwich, maybe some vegetables on the side if you're lucky. By 3 p.m., they're exhausted and craving something sweet. By 7 p.m., they're probably ravenous, well past the point of fullness and hunger. And by 9 p.m., the snacking just starts and it doesn't stop. If this sounds a little bit familiar in areas, that's because this pattern is creating a roller coaster in your blood sugar levels. So that's creating spikes and crashes all day long. So every single crash triggers your hunger signal. So when your blood sugars go up, we're all fine and dandy. It's a fine and dandy time, unless you're diabetic. But then what goes up must come down. So as soon as it crashes, that sends a signal. It sends an emergency signal. And it's an urgency. It's a feeling of an urgency, and it feels impossible to ignore, right? So this is when our blood sugar levels have dropped. So in order to mimic the GLP-1s, we want to make sure that our blood sugar levels are as stable as possible, right? So instead of having sugary foods in doses and even caffeine, we want to have a steady source of energy, a steady source of blood sugar levels, which we are going to acquire through plant-based, whole food plant-based diet, right? A whole food plant-based diet is full of healthy plant-based proteins that we can utilize, other vitamins and minerals. It's full of fiber, and especially that fiber is going to help us feel full for longer, keeping our blood sugar levels more stable. And that is also going to, keep our GLP-1 secretion happening, just naturally ticking along in the background, right? We're not getting the highs and lows. So when we're on a whole food plant-based diet, we're not getting the highs and lows, therefore it's more stable. So going back to my example of my client, after 22 years of dieting, all of that restriction, the guilt, all of those evenings feeling completely out of control around food, after 6 months of working together, she lost 37 pounds. She reduced her asthma medication. In fact, she barely even touches it anymore. She's not getting out of breath running up and down stairs at work. She's normalized her blood pressure, and the evening binges have completely gone. And it's not because we restricted a lot of what she ate. We just gave her body some structure. We gave her routine some structure. And we made sure that her breakfast, lunches, and dinners were very well balanced. What do I mean well balanced? By well balanced, I mean, sorry, it's getting to that point of night where I'm just getting really, really stuffed up. But we had high fiber, high protein, plant-based meals, right? And so that is a very balanced, well-balanced plate. And that was stabilizing her blood sugar, and the low calorie density of her entire meal was triggering her fullness receptors. So she was feeling satisfied and stable between meals, which meant that she didn't need to snack between meals. How amazing is that, right? So, by the way, if you're watching this and thinking, oh my God, this is exactly what's happened to me, I want to tell you about something that's happening on the 23rd of March. So, if you're watching this, you might know that I have actually been recently restricted on Facebook. So, I haven't been able to message people back. I haven't been able to reply to comments. People have replied to my messages, and it looks like I've ignored them because I haven't responded. That isn't me being rude. I've just been restricted on Facebook. It's happening a lot with creators and professional accounts at the moment, which is really frustrating because they're giving me a certificate and a congratulations for engaging people and creating a community. And then they're like, damn you shouldn't create a community. So my 5-day challenges, I'm actually hosting them off of Facebook now. So we're doing a private Telegram chat. So there's a lot of one-to-one. It's actually closer because it's on my phone. There's a lot of one-to-one chat. We're doing a 5-day diet detox challenge. It is a free 5-day challenge for plant-based women who are done with dieting and who are ready to understand what actually works to live a long and healthy and abundant life and feel amazing. So we're going to reduce inflammation. We're going to reduce cravings, and you are going to feel the difference in 5 days. So I will drop the link in the description in the comments below. So make sure you jump in and grab a spot. Now, if the time runs out and we have gone past the 23rd of March, then it should redirect you to the waitlist. Get on the waitlist for any next challenges that I do. So how else are we going to mimic the effects of GLP-1? I'm giving you so much gold. Guys, I'm giving you so much gold. I hope you're writing all of this down. So, as I've mentioned to you before, we're going to have low calorie density foods. So we are going to have plant-based, whole food plant-based meals. These are more low calorie density than high calorie dense meals. And we want to make sure that, well, not make sure, I'm going to take that back. And this ensures that it is a high fiber meal. Okay. Soluble fiber slows your emptying of your stomach, right? Your slows gastric emptying, just like GLP-1 medication does as well. So when you eat fiber-rich foods, particularly vegetables and legumes, before or alongside carbohydrates, you actually blunt the glucose spike. You reduce that spike so your blood sugar stays steady. Okay, so that helps satiety and it helps with weight loss. Imagine losing weight where you feel satisfied with your life, right? You don't have to starve yourself to lose weight. I keep telling people this all the time and nobody listens to me. The second way that you're going to do this is by making just making sure that you have a source of plant-based protein at every meal. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean tofu, tempeh, edamame beans. They're all part of the soy family. You've got any kind of lentil. There's loads of different types of lentils. There's loads of different types of beans. There are chickpeas, right? We are looking for a higher protein source just to accommodate that or just to create that long satisfying feeling between meals. So protein just helps you stay a little bit more satisfied for longer when you have it at every meal. If you just have a high starch meal, you'll probably find that you'll feel hungry quicker. So the idea of weight loss, natural and effortless weight loss, is that we're not eating every 2 hours, right? Because then you're going to overeat in calories. So if you have a source of protein at a meal, you're far less likely to want to snack between meals, reducing your overall caloric intake for that day. Number 3 or 4 or wherever the hell we are, because I'm giving you so much, meal timing and spacing is actually really helpful. So a lot of people kind of bypass this and they're constantly snacking. Now that's kind of preventing our natural GLP-1 from doing its own job. So if you try and eat when you're hungry, so when you're physically hungry But here's the catch. I want you to wait at least until like your second hunger signs. So the way that I do that is when I first notice hunger, I wait about 30 minutes until I check in with myself and ask if I can wait at least another 10 to 20 minutes. Usually I can. So the first sign of hunger for me, and I've got this down to a T because I listen, because I practice, because I lean in, at the first sign of hunger, I know that I can wait at least another 45 minutes to an hour, right? So that is not starving myself, by the way. That is not waiting until I'm passing out. That is waiting for comfortable hunger to sit in that comfortable hunger realm for a short while. Because at the end of the day, weight loss means that you have to eat in a calorie deficit. You have to eat less than you are using, which means it requires effort and energy and a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling to tap into your fat stores, to burn fat, to lose weight. So the longer you can sit in comfortable hunger, comfortable is important, the better, right? So again, we're not passing out. Nobody's waiting until they pass out. So what we want to do is just space our meal times and try and eat when we're hungry, not eating because the kids are eating, because the family sat down to eat. We're not eating because of other people. We're not eating because of the clock. We're not eating because it's a specific break time. You are eating when you feel hungry after your first signs, okay? And then we're going to recognize our enough levels. Enough is before you hit full. Okay. If you are constantly eating until you feel full, not until you've had enough, now your body will tell you this. Don't listen to your brain. My brain has never had enough food. I enjoy food. I love food. But I can tell you right now, my brain never wants to finish food. I never want to finish eating. Okay. So you have to dial into your body and ask your body when you've had enough. It's not woo-woo. It's not random stuff. I'm just talking about dialing in to feel to how you are feeling. Excuse the snotty McGee here. So number whatever we're on is meal timing and spacing is super important. Don't keep snacking, wait until you're hungry, and stop eating when you've had enough food. This is going to train your body into some sort of regular pattern and routine, and our bodies love that pattern and routine. So don't starve yourself, don't have two meals, don't try an intermittent fast. I'm pretty sure there is actually no solid evidence that intermittent fasting works any better than any other diet. Intermittent fasting only works for weight loss because you are restricting your calories. Weight loss only works when you are eating fewer calories than you use, right? Law of thermodynamics, we all know this by now. The only way that weight loss works is when you eat fewer calories than you use. So don't fast, just keep your body regular. And that's looking at about 3 meals and one snack a day. Don't keep eating throughout the day, but also wait until you're comfortably hungry. And then whatever the last one is, I don't know what number I'm on now, but make sure that you are eating the whole foods. That's that's a summary. Never mind. Make sure that you're eating whole plant-based foods, that you're listening to your body, and that you're even drinking enough water as well, guys. There are so many other tips that I can tell you to do to naturally mimic the effects of GLP-1 drugs. And all I essentially mean is take care of yourself, yeah? Make sure you're sleeping 7 to 8 hours, make sure you're hydrating enough, and make sure you're moving your own body. If you don't want to rely on injections, if you don't want to rebound and regain your weight, you have to systematically change your habits and your lifestyle and your routine. And yes, you probably don't want to hear that from me right now, because if you are considering GLP-1 drugs, you are considering the easy way out. And what I've just given you is not the easy way out, right? If it was an easy way out, you would have done it by now. That is the problem, is these drugs seem to be an easy way out. They're not. They're an easy way into a longer life of misery. But that's my personal opinion. So let me give you a straight comparison, right? Because I think you need some clarity here. So GLP-1 medications, they work for the right person in the right context, they produce real results. But they were designed to dig people out of the grave, right? The people that were so close to dying from obesity or diabetes, this was going to help them because they didn't want to change anything else. Okay. But there are so many side effects. And the problem is these GLP-1 medications, they are just being thrown in as just like a freaking face mask, right? It's like, oh, let's all just go and do it. But the side effects for so many women include hair loss, nausea, vomiting, fatigue, muscle loss, right? You see a lot of people walking around with gaunt faces and a gaunt body, and people just look like skin and bones. That is not healthy. There will be, if there's not already, I think there's already a documentary, but there will be a documentary on Netflix in years' time about how all of these people were so malnourished and undernourished and lived a shit and unhealthy life because they didn't change their routine, their structure, and their mindset. Okay? You mark my words. So essentially, when the medications stop or when you come off them, that appetite regulation is going to stop because you have not learned how to do it yourself with whole food diet, meal spacing, with drinking enough water, with getting enough sleep, right? So what we're doing in this session, in this video here, is you're just teaching your body how to regulate yourself. So we want to create an environment where your hormones are thriving, right? Where they are optimized. And that's all we're doing here. So we want to make sure that our body is feeling safety, is feeling satiety, cravings are managed, blood sugar levels are regulated, and that's all that it really is, guys. It is not some crazy ass wonder pill. It is not some crazy ass science that you've probably never heard before. To be honest, what I've taught to you today is probably stuff that you already know. But if you already knew it, why were you here? It's about time you stepped out of the knowing and into the doing. So here is what I want to leave you with today. If you've been feeling out of control around food, if the evening cravings feel like a switch that you can't turn off, if you've been wondering whether your hormones are broken or whether you just need a stronger solution, I want you to hear this. You are not fighting willpower. Okay? If you think that you're fighting willpower, ditch the idea that willpower is actually going to get you through anything, right? You are fighting a body that you are setting up to fail, right? If you're not sleeping enough, if you're not drinking enough water, if you're not moving your body, if you're eating foods that are sending your blood sugar out of whack, if you're not eating enough fiber, you are creating an environment where your body is designed to fail. You are not setting an environment up where your body is designed to thrive. Okay. And a thriving body doesn't need GLP-1s because a thriving body and a thriving mind manages cravings, manages food noise because it's quieter and you're more experienced at addressing your actual needs. So the 5-day diet detox challenge starts on the 23rd of March. It is completely free. It is designed to show you in 5 days what 5 years of dieting never could. So what it actually feels like when your body is working with you, when you are working with your body, not against your body, not trying to diet in a way that was never designed for human beings in the first place. I'll drop the link in the description. Make sure you reserve your free place. And if it is past the 23rd of March and you want to jump on the next one, hit the link anyway. It will redirect you to the waitlist. Okay? Until next time, team, here's to your health overhaul. Have a blessed day, and I'll catch you soon, Queens. And if this video has helped you today, please make sure that you share it with someone, a friend, a sister, or colleague that needs to hear it. Subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one.